you please call the roll?
Alder Wood.
Here.
Alder DePuga.
Here.
Alder Kugo.
Here.
Alder Bernstein.
Here.
Alder Brandmacher.
Here.
Alder Holmquist.
Here.
Mayor Moore.
Here. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Just realized our emergency lights are on.
Welcome, everyone. Before we start the overview, or I should say that we have here on the agenda, I'd like to just start with a few opening remarks. As this is my first budget as mayor, and it is called the mayor's budget, for those people that may not be aware of that, I thought it might be helpful to open by sharing a bit more about my perspective or approach in making the choices I made on the draft that's before you. First of all, I want to extend my gratitude to the lead staff, this council, and the many citizens who serve on commissions, committees, and boards who weighed our challenges and priorities. Second, I want to give a special shout out to Mark as our finance director for his work, a lion's share, including the summary information and analysis we'll see shortly from him. Third, I want to thank Neil, who, among other things, I asked to prepare the budget process document that we sent out with the budget for not only for Rachel, because she's new and the budget process isn't always that well known, or the definitions for that matter. Fourth, I want to thank Patrick for tonight's dinner. Fifth, I want to thank Leah, who we all know runs City Hall. Six, as we all know, we always have more capital needs than we have resources, and we always have to make tough choices, and as we'll see tonight in the capital budget, this is no different. That being said, the majority of items requested were approved. If you spent time on the changes made document, you know that 17 out of the 34 items that were moved or seemingly removed from this budget were actually moved to another funding source. TID, for one, with I'm sure Kathy Thomas is smiling. Our land dedication funds, operating, or even friends groups. 4 related to the Nichols Road project, which I'll speak about in a minute, and 3 shifted to align with other projects or repayment schedules that we have. So my overall perspective, Alder Wood contacted me wondering where my $2.5 million goal came from, and provided ample data on previous years with a $3.3 million average. The minimal impact of $834,000 difference, which is to say $3.3 million versus $2.5 million to taxpayers, and fundamentally concerns over limiting annual investments in the community. It's all really great stuff, and I appreciate Doug reaching out in that way. But his questioning helped me recognize a primary difference in our way of thinking or analysis. I have not spent the bulk of my time thinking about a percentage difference between years or average budgets or the homeowner impact of $834,000. What I have been doing is thinking bigger and longer picture. And I think we all need to be doing that. We've got a $50 million estimate on a public safety admin municipal building, which I don't believe we can afford, and a community center, senior center, pool, and potentially Maywood that are very close behind, like probably within the next decade, all of which are huge, big ticket items. And all, I might add, are huge investments in the community. To some degree, I think we've been kidding ourselves that we can comfortably or even uncomfortably do it all without further tightening our belts on annual GO borrowing. And this budget reflects that I think we can tighten without negatively impacting the community. It does all add up. I wanted to speak also about equipment and vehicle purchasing. I strongly believe, and have for some time, that we need to update or change our equipment rating system and what qualifies for replacement. I'll get the exact number of years since our last update from Mark, but when we discussed, we thought it was around a decade. For one, the majority of points come from the age of equipment, which holds little value as to any equipment or vehicle condition. Data, I would argue, holds more value would be mileage, hours, in the case of something like a loader, reliability issues, type of duty, and the maintenance record. Let's take as an example the Colorado. It's light duty. It has only 58,000 miles. It has no reliability issues, and we've spent an average of $236 a year in maintenance. I don't know about you, but if somebody owns a 15-year-old car, I would take that to the bank every time. And then also Nichols Road projects. I want people to know that I nixed it for several reasons. Even with the grant, we'd be investing somewhere in the order of $1 million of our own capital funds. And I can see a lot of other projects of higher priority looking forward even more than 5 years, including but not limited to the big ticket facilities and the big ticket equipment mentioned above. We haven't settled on a public safety municipal facility, and I think designing Nichols or the related parking lots or traffic flow, as Jake had in his budget, before we get to at least a better picture there, doesn't make sense. In fact, I've encouraged the inclusion of some civic campus visioning as part of our comp plan process, as well as the inclusion of the Parks and Open Space Plan too, because it is a central gathering place, and my belief is that Nichols can be more than just pedestrian friendly. Third, when I asked Dan to remind me of why this had become such a high priority, he said it really wasn't for him. He had other projects of higher priority, and that the grant was submitted because he felt like there was pressure from council to find a project that fit federal dollars available, and Nichols seemed like the best bet. It reminded me of nonprofits that get into mission creep to chase funding streams, which happens all the time, having spent my life in the nonprofit sector. He said if it was up to him, he'd be not doing a whole lot more besides resurfacing or chip sealing. And so, that's why it was removed. And finally, I wanted to speak to the bike ped plan. This week is Week Without Driving. Alder Wood and I had the pleasure of taking the bus downtown today and then hopping on the BRT with other elected officials and advocates to participate in press events to raise awareness of the burdens folks who don't drive face. Recently, Alders Wood, Bernstein, and I have had email communications around making more progress on our bike ped plan. And one of the challenges is that it doesn't have a home or a champion. As I often see the glass half full, we have made investments annually, McKenna, South Winnequa Park Path as a few examples. Plus, we've added more sidewalks with developments being done, and our adoption of Metro has spurred some action as reflected in this budget. As Broadway is also being reimagined, rebuilt by the end of this decade, Topgolf is launched, and with Topgolf, we anticipate more mixed-use development. I think we could also imagine opportunities unforeseen in the bike ped plan for more connecting paths, sidewalks, including connections to the Capitol Bike Trail. This is all to say, in time, I think we'll figure out a way to create that champion and put it in its right place, and I still consider it to be a priority. I say it all the time, but let me say it again. We have the best damn staff. I feel privileged to work with them in my role, and grateful too. I know you do as well. And there's no better time to see that than in listening to what they present tonight. So with that, I'll turn it over to Neil or to Mark.
I just don't have a whole lot to add, Mayor. Just on one thing in terms of, when we were in our initial discussions, especially regarding some of the equipment and things, it is always a little bit, there's, if we knew exactly when things were going to break, this would be an easy exercise. But since we don't know that, it's either proceed, I think staff has either proceeded on when, using the methodology that they've used in the past to do that. But, certainly understand the situation and the direction from the mayor. And so with the understanding that if a critical piece of equipment does happen to fail catastrophically, that there will just certainly be a need to come back to this body to request. If something would happen, it would have to just go through the budget amendment process to do that. I think staff understands that. So certainly in terms of understanding what the potential impacts could be, we understand that. And, I just would like to also just kind of reiterate the mayor's point, and I'm going to steal a little bit of Mark's thunder before he gets too far into it. But, this body is not necessarily under any a legal mandate for keeping borrowing where it's at. It's really just the fiscal policy of this council is what, in terms of debt service, is really, you guys are the ones who get to decide what that level is. We are not really dealing with an external limit at this point. As Mark will explain, capacity-wise, we've got plenty to go. However, the impact on the taxpayer is certainly, I think, where the mayor is coming from, and certainly in terms of, what we want to look at and what degree this body is comfortable in terms of when we look at that number. So I think that's all I had, Mark. With that, I'll hand it over to Mark.
Thank you.
Teresa's got something quick.
Sorry. Just for those, you made a comment, I wondered if you might just specify for those listening, like you mentioned that there's a decision that council has made about the level of borrowing that we're comfortable at, and how, can you explain that as a ratio or a percentage of?
Yeah, and Mark will certainly cover that.
Okay.
There's not a set number that we have as council, but in fact, you as council get to decide that on an annual basis as part of the capital improvement plan.
Got it. I
So-
thought you were referring to a historical
No, there's
thing.
no.
Okay.
No,
Perfect.
there is no policy mandate other than the desire really of this
Yeah.
body, so. Hey, Mark?
Yeah.
Mark, the floor is yours.
Well, thank you. Just a quick thing on how it all, the process works. Department heads will prepare their capital budgets. They go to each committee. The committee will approve them. Once we get the approval from the committee, we put them all booked together and we sit down. Each individual department meets with myself, Neil, and the mayor, and they talk about each project. And kind of, the current year and the future years, kind of get an idea what's going on with the city as far as their capital budgets for the futures too. And at that point, we sit down with the mayor, myself, and Neil, and kind of go over projects to put in there, and ultimate at the end. This is the mayor's budget, so this is what we have prepared, is what's been approved and what we went over. So, a couple things here. We kind of talked already about the goals. The 2.5 excluding utilities and TIFs. We want to limit the impact on the operating budget. The actual came in $2,507,000, so basically right at our goal. It's not easy getting there, but we're able to get there to the 2.5. The revenue bonds came in at 1.7, and the overall capital budget's 5.7. So there is a debt limit for the states. There's a state statute. You can not borrow more than 5% of your equalized value. So if you take the equalized value times 5%, our legal debt capacity is $113 million. 500,000 is our legal debt capacity. So how is that? How much capacity have we used or unused? So the outstanding general geo debt, I'm assuming everything, there's no new debt that's going to be issued here by the end of the year. So at the end of the year, our debt general obligation should be $44,180,000. It should be 25 principal payments. So what you can do is what they do, S&Ps, they subtract off what your principal payments are for 2025. And we have a band, this one will probably be is a ban, which is San Dom and not San Dom. The borrowing for that particular ban out, it's actually $5.9 million, but we're refinancing it. It's by the end of the year, it'll be 3.9. So I'm including that in there. So overall, outstanding debt is $41,245,000. As I said, the legal debt capacity is $113 million. So we have unused capacity of $72,200,000, which is 63% we have available.
Mark, can I just, before you jump to the next slide, I just want to say, for those of you that might be less aware, it can be argued that the 5% of equalized value, which is, again, a state-driven thing, is excessively large, which is to say our state legislature has traditionally been in a position of let's let them borrow more money as opposed to support them through a state share of funding. That has been, our legislature's general approach. I just wanted to point that out to people. I don't know that anybody would say that it's appropriate for a municipality to be in debt by, especially a municipality of this size. So, go ahead, Mark.
Yeah, for the next slide. So we talked about the total GO debt outstanding is the $44,180,000. What is the makeup of that? Because there's a lot of TIF involved, utilities involved in that. So here's kind of the breakdown. So the city is roughly $23 million, or 52% of that total GO. And then you can see TIF 4 through 9 makes up another large portion of it, a small portion of water and sewer, because they're mostly, we have revenue bonds on the next page, and stormwater. It's about 7.4%. Just kind of looking at the TIFs, I just want to, TIF 5, just so you know, is, I call it Garden Circle, the old Garden Circle area. And TIF 9 is the current. So these are basically, we bought the properties and we had to go off, and we got developers in, we were so it took a little bit longer to develop those, and buying those extra properties is an expensive thing to do for the city. So that's why you see TIF 5 and TIF 9 being so much higher than the other TIFs. As far as 4, 6, 7, and 8. Usually 4, 6, 7, and 8 are mostly like infrastructure projects that we have left. Because most of the developers' agreements in those are all been paid off. And same with TIF 5, but now it's just kind of collecting on the land. The same as TIF 9's in process as far as collecting on the developers' agreement. But in a lot of those projects, 4 through 9, there's a lot of capital projects that, a lot of roads at TIF 9, Alshays Bridge Road was included in there. One is that the Winnequa Road was also included in there. We put the sidewalks in. TIF 4 is a lot of Monona Drive is done through there. So there's a lot of capital projects that were done through these, just a different mechanism to pay for them. So the only thing that hits the property taxes is supported by taxpayers is the city portion. The TIF is supported by TIF increment, and the storm and utilities are all supported by rate users. And we also have revenue.
Mark, could you go back one? Yeah.
Yeah.
So, will it make a difference now? In the past, we had done, the city would borrow the money up front
Yeah.
for these projects. Now it's a pay-go, so city's not really incurring debt for those. Will that change this going forward?
Yes and no, because I will see there's a lot of stuff that's being allocated to the TIFs. So a lot of things that get allocated to TIFs are we're going to borrow for. So those numbers will still increase, especially the future. I mean, all the TIFs right now, for instance, Broadway is going to be done here in the next 4 or 5 years. Technically, that's all in the TIF. We'd still have to borrow for it to pay it off.
Okay.
So it would be in those numbers. So it would still be in those numbers.
Yeah.
As far as like the developers agreements, they should not be in those numbers, so that would have.
But
For
that's-
TIF,
Yeah.
TIF 9, there's developers agreements that still hasn't been paid back yet. So that'd be a lot lower number. But there still will be some debt service for us to this.
And then if you could just go back one more slide, just one quick question. So not that many years ago, we were creeping up towards that, the 5%.
Yeah, we were one time around 90-some%.
Yeah, and so is it true the main driver of why we have so much more capacity now is because the equalized value has gone up?
I mean, yeah, if you look at where we were 10 years ago, it's probably a billion less.
Right.
So that is one of the big differences.
So as long as that continues to happen, then,
The passage is
You would
going to keep
expect-
on growing each year.
yeah, okay, all right. Thanks.
We do have revenue bonds and bans. For revenue bonds, the main and sewer and water ones, they're supported by the rate users. The general one, the 3.9, which again is the same bond, we'll be back here fairly soon refinancing because that 5-year note is up. TIF number 9, that is a TIF increment revenue bond. So it doesn't go against your GO. So it has a little bit higher interest rate, but stays off the GO, and it's paid back by increment, so that's also included in there.
That's the current.
That's
right?
the current,
Okay.
yeah. So I think everybody, I don't know if everybody's aware, we basically bought pretty much every property there, so, and we had to hold it for so many years, and then, did a lot of redevelopment there. So that's why that number and the number from the page before, a little bit high. All the projections are, we'll be paying that off a little bit for it than it's required to. It's doing very well, increment-wise. Next page is the future GO debt. We are paying off a large chunk right now. We'll see in the very next page. A lot of that is related to the TIFs, but it also is the general portion. So here's a breakup of what ties into the yearly annual payments. As you can see, the general, we kind of are at the highest it'll be. We're, hopefully we'll start to go backwards now. We've been not borrowing as much in the last couple of years. As you can see, 29, 28, and 30, especially 30, you're starting to see a drop off. And so eventually, we don't borrow as much this year. We're not going to see it the next year. There's a 10-year repayment schedule, so it fits in more to the future years. You'll definitely see it from 30 to 31 on. If we keep kind of, if the debt borrowing stays low, you'll definitely have an impact in the future years with that. For the TIFs, we're paying a large chunks off right now. We're paying large payments for TIF 5, which is the Garden Circle, and also some large payments for TIF 4 and TIF 9 right now. So, paying $13 million of what was outstanding. I don't have the exact number, but we will be paying a big chunk of the TIFs off. Water and sewer are small again. And storm, that is a bigger dollar amount for a storm each year. But if we can kind of keep it pretty consistent from here, we should be okay. The next page. So how are we able to, how's the breakup of all the current? So 2.5 is the general portion, the TIF is 178,000, storm is 252,000. There's a large fund balance number in here. So when you look at the summary page of all the changes, there's a couple things noted. So there's a couple projects that were been put on hold for like 2 or 3 or so years. On page 77, 78, they are Aldo Leopold. This was, we had budget borrowed for this, I think in 2022, in front of me. That's a large project that currently right now That's not gonna happen in 2026. If it does happen in 2027 or future years, now that we actually we did a new TIF, which is the Owen Road TIF, the bowling alley area, if you drive the half-mile circle, this will be included in that half-mile Alder Leopold. So if we get a project in there, we're developing the increment that can be used to pay for a portion of Alder Leopold.
Can I just, Mark, to explain to people, since people may not know when you say Aldo Leopold, so the driveway, the road that goes into Aldo Leopold is not something that was included in our original 99-year lease with Aldo Leopold. So, and it obviously, if you've driven it, you know that it's not in very good shape. Certainly less shape than a lot of our other roads. But Aldo Leopold is also just completing a capital program, capital campaign. And if we're going to repave the road, they want to piggyback with some changes that they would make in terms of their parking configurations and such, and their drive. And so they're just not ready yet they want to do it at the same time, right? Save resources, but they're just not quite ready. So that's what he's referring to.
And I say Aldo Leopold also services Tulare and any city. parking lot,
Yes.
too. I just say Aldo Leopold because everybody kind of knows that's
Yeah.
that drive.
And the condominium that's in front, right?
Yeah.
Right.
So there's 4 different entities working with, including us, to figure out what the pay source is that. And then another project is the Pagoda. We borrowed for that in 2022. There's been some issues with that one. There's been no activity for a long time now. Again, I think if it's going to happen, I think it really should go through the process again, through the city council's capital budget. And also in the end, looking into this one, I believe it's within, I'm double checking, and I'll eventually double check with this one. Pagoda is within, what's in the Bloom TIF. It's within a half mile, so eventually it could be covered by the TIF. So I just got to make sure that's a coverable expenditures, because buildings are not considered allowable TIF expense, so we have to figure out how exactly that fits into the TIF plan if we can. So, but I will look into that. And then we had just additional projects that we've had, where a street project or another project came in under budget, or we borrowed more. We didn't need to use the contingency, about $300,000. So that's where that fund balance number is coming from. And it kind of impacted the debt service on the debt service level. So in 2025, this number is a little misleading. We did use some fund balance to reduce it, but if we didn't use the fund balance to reduce 2025 debt service, the cost to an average medium house in Monona would have been $1,177. That would have been the effect of the debt service, or $270 per 100,000. The number is a little less because we did use some fund balances, some transfers, but that was what it would be if we didn't use that those transfers. How much is a 2026 capital budget? We did a 10-year repayment schedule, which would be about $16 per 100,000, or $76,000 per medium home, which is $469,000. So that's kind of the average. So if you look at that as a build on.
Can you go back to that slide? Thanks.
Could I
Okay.
take this moment to just also ask a question about this slide? Mark, so what I'm interpreting here is that your 2 bullet points, right? So the debt service to the cost of taxpayers, $1,100 on a median home, but the $76 per median home, can you explain?
That's with the current, that would be what what you're approving in this budget would add to
So are you saying that we have decreased?
No, it's gonna add to, so if you look at
Add to
the,
it.
it's gonna add to the $1,177.
So an additional $76, thank you.
And then, we did send a slide, Neil did send the slides out. We kind of want to look at where we have been from 2018 to 2024, what the borrowings have been. This kind of lays out those years. Some major items in the, for general items in the budget.
So, I'm sorry, could you go back to that? So I would just note that those are
Oh.
like that real dollars, not of inflation adjusted amounts, right?
Correct.
Okay, thanks. That's all.
Major items in the budget for general obligation, road, 20 Watha. This is the general portion, $1.5 million. The library HVAC, $978. This is water tower being utility, next slide. $200,000 for street maintenance. Fix painting the pool, it's pretty expensive, $50,000 there. And some pool repairs at $30,000, some items. Major utility ones, the other portion of the 20 Watha road reconstruction, and the water tower painting, almost $500,000. Next, as you said, the summary of pages, summary of changes. It's page 77, 78. Kind of want to dig into those. There's a lot of changes, like the mayor said. Not every one of them you look at, you kind of got to read the descriptions, because some are just changing fundings to the TIFs or some other source with that. Just some items for the future. Tecumseh, the bridge, stormwater interlake, storm basins, library roof, Southtown concrete replacement, 2028, depending how the two TIFs, because there's the Southtown TIFs, this could be 100% TIFable. I'm just going to make sure the project that we get, if there's a project, that we make enough increment to cover those. So that's kind of the challenge. We can put them in there, but you got to make sure the project has enough increment to cover the cost. Same with the 2028 Broadway Road with Dane County. It's kind of the first year. Again, that could be all TIFable. And you look at 2029, I'm just going to round up about $6 million. Again, that's all in the TIFs. So it depends on what the projects are, which it works perfect right now with we have the UW clinic and where the new I call it UW and Merida clinics are, which is TIF 7 or 6, TIF 6. There's a lot of increment in there that can cover that, and also River Place. Let's get that River Place. That's going to be a very successful TIFs just based on what I've seen so far as projections, so that'll cover a lot of those, and even at the current. So there's a couple big TIFs that can pay for a lot of this, if almost not all of it. So those TIFs do come in handy. It does take a while to pay them off because of that reason. And kind of what the mayor talked about too, next page is future projects in the next 5 to 15 years. You know, the city campus building, as you mentioned, the community center, senior, everything she basically talked about is what we're kind of been looking at as projections for the next 5 to 15 years at least. And just potential borrowings, you always got developers agreements if something happens where it's not pay as you go. Just any large TIF projects, just future capital project or emergency project if needed. Kind of impact on utility rates, water rate. We probably need to look into a water rate increase. You know, when you look in here, dig into, you'll see the majority of the Tony Watha project is mostly water utilities, and you add in almost $500,000 for the water painting. It's a lot for that utility to handle, so that's something we'll have to kind of check, see how we can fit it into our repayment schedule, but we might need a water rate increase for that, so we'll be looking at that. since we kind of, one project was moving the sewer utilities, there's no reason for a sewer rate increase for the debt coverage. Stormwater, about a 3% increase for the debt service coverage. That's all I have.
Any questions for Mark? Other questions for Mark?
I actually do have a question. Mark, in your presentation, I'm going to go ask you, could you go back to slide number 9? It's the same slide that I had asked a question about. It was the 2 bullet points.
Sure. The levy rate increase.
Yeah, I think what I'm tripping over is just that there's different words used. So it's not, it doesn't feel like an apples to apples
Right.
comparison.
Yeah.
So if you could use the same words, so in 2025, the debt service cost to taxpayers was $1,100, right?
Yeah.
In 2026, the debt service cost, can we use the same language? The
Yeah, 'cause
debt
it's-
service
they're-
cost to taxpayers.
They are kind of, they're not apples to apples.
I mean, it should probably be median home too, not median.
Oh.
Yeah, that's right. Like a medium-sized home? No,
Medium, yeah.
median home.
So the one is the overall for the last 10 years worth of debt, and that's what we're paying, that 1,100,000.
But if, is the purpose of this slide to demonstrate the change that people will feel between last year and this year? Is that the purpose
No, the
of
purpose
this
of the
slide?
slide is more to say, okay, your debt service cost that you paid on your 2025 taxes was, your portion that went to your tax bill was for $100,000 assessment was $270. So your portion, if you looked at your bill, say your bill is
Yeah,
$4,000. $1,177 of that is your portion of debt service. The other portion is your operating. The 2026 cap budget number is what will, when we borrow that money, 2.5, what gets added on there. So if we borrow $2.5 million, that adds $16 per 100,000.
And the median home value has also changed too.
Yeah.
So that also accounts for some of the increase.
But Mark, if I can, I just went back to the first one in terms of Teresa's question. The 2025, you're not saying that actually that 270 per 100,000 is just for the year 2025. That's accumulated
It's
debt.
accumulated of all the years put together. When you send the tax bill out, and you look at your property taxes, and you see the debt service amount in the budget. What's that related to the actual property tax number?
like the current
Yeah.
cumulative, yes, right.
So the
right,
cumulative debt
Of all
is
the debt we still have
270
that
per
needs to be paid back.
100,000,
Yep.
and the
Yep.
additional
right.
debt
And then you add on.
with this year's capital budget is 76
Got it.
per 100,000. Make sense?
Absolutely, thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, great. Well then, thank you, Mark, as always. And we will move on to information technology. This is page 22. And for those of you that are following along on paper, it's page 22.
Mark, you got us way off schedule.
And I saw that.
Try and make up for lost. Thank you all. The information technology budget for 2026 is for all departments across the city, all 5 buildings and all departments. Our total budget request is $81,000. For those of you who don't know Jaron, this is Jaron Begelin. He is partner with JJ Antonetti in Land Tech Services, and they are our IT contractors. They help to plan our infrastructure, plan, maintain, and help us to schedule for the infrastructure improvements and maintenance that we need to do. And they do a great job because we don't generally have to come here and ask for more money because something catastrophic happened, which is certainly a big goal of the IT department. So Just briefly, I'll sort of go over the general categories that we're asking for, and then Jaren is here to answer any specific IT questions that you may have that I can't answer. So a little under a third of our budget is for computers, I suppose not surprisingly. We have more than 130 machines over all the departments in the city. We replace those on an annual replacement schedule. So this is the allotment that we'll need for next year to stay with that replacement schedule. We currently maintain 8 virtual servers, which are managed by 2 physical machines. And each of those machines is on a 5-year replacement cycle, so we're gonna need to replace one of those next year. Those are an expensive purchase of $12,500. We have 13 network switches throughout the city. We need to replace 3 of those, so that's a $20,000 bill on that. 29 access points throughout the city for people to access the internet. We like to replace those on a, sort of rotating basis, so we need to replace about 7 of those next year. Cameras is the part of the budget that just seems to continue to grow and grow. Because the lifespan of cameras is just so variable based on where the cameras are they outside, inside, are they exposed to the elements, that sort of thing. We don't really put them on a formal replacement schedule, but we just use them until they break. And then we go in and replace them when we need to. This line item also includes when we need to add cameras to places. I think this request includes 2 additional cameras in this building, in the children's room and the quiet reading room, I think, as well as an additional camera in the police department that was actually recommended by our insurance company to add near the evidence room. So, and then we use a lot of iPads and tablets in the city. Our workers who are out in the field use them a lot in the field. Our after-school program uses them and our recreation program uses them for, attendance and things like that in the programs out in the field. So that's all of the budget request. If anybody has any questions, we're happy to answer.
Any questions, Rick?
Yeah, I'm just curious. The new camera in the police station, what was the reason the insurance company made?
The chief might be able to elaborate on this
Oh,
more,
okay.
but I think it was our insurance company. The evidence room is located. Go ahead.
We don't have a camera facing our armory, which has all of our weaponry. And so CIVMEC, the insurance company, came in and indicated that they thought that was a potential risk and something that they strongly recommended that we install.
Makes sense. All right, thank you.
Any other questions for Leah?
I just have perhaps a consideration a point to consider. I know that the city council, my colleagues here, were not due for new laptops. That was something that recently happened. I would like perhaps there to be some sort of a study, maybe Jaren has some thoughts about how we could get rid of these laptops and force or ask or give the option that city council members bring their own device so that the city gets out of the hardware business, so to speak. It's exactly what we're doing in my company. We support 1,700 people. They bring any device they want. It's all cloud-based. So much is going to the cloud right now anyway. It's not a conversation or a decision for tonight, but it is a budget consideration.
Part of that problem might run into record keeping, because if it's your own device, now it's susceptible for open records requests.
But
You might be without it. It also opens up opportunities for people to start using it for other things. So there are benefits of having control over these devices.
I agree with you, and I know that we've talked about that before, but I would say that state statute will tell you that it doesn't matter what device you're using. It's the information on that device that is subject to open records,
Yeah,
no matter if
of
it's your
course.
phone, your personal laptop. So just because you have a standardized device doesn't change anything about your responsibility for, the sunshine.
No,
laws
that's
and
not what I'm
things.
talking
Yeah.
about,
Oh,
responsibility. I'm talking about it's easier for them to manage the devices And I don't know.
Well, it's easier for us to keep our
Yep.
personal and city stuff
Separate.
separate, so if they wanna come, if they need to, actually look at the computer, they can look at this one and not my personal one.
So if I could address that one.
Sure.
Yeah.
With the open records requests that every email address and device that you access that on is subject to open records.
Mhm.
And in the past, there were people using their own personal devices. And keep in mind, when there is an open records request, if it is determined to be device specific, there are steps that are required to, if nothing else, image the entire device, keeping a copy of that entire device. That can take time. If you guys provide your own devices, and I mean, honestly, that time frame could be 3 weeks, based on the intensity of the open records request, what all has to be gone through. So if you are using your own personal device, your own cell phone, your iPad that you have, your business information on as well, being without that device for 3 weeks could be rather inconvenient. These were initially purchased, the previous version of laptops were initially purchased for that convenience that, hey, this is a city-provided device to conduct city business, and it leaves that separation between your personal device and your city device. To speak on that further, when it's managed by the city, there is city-provided monitoring, which we'll talk about more in the operating budget, that they are monitored by a 24/7 security operations center in case of a breach, in case of password corruption, and a plethora of other security topics that are becoming increasingly frequent. And so with that, with you guys receiving city data and stuff like that, rather than it be on your personal devices, I don't know how we would protect any of that data, it being a personal device.
Also, I would like to just make this point about something like that. Obviously, we don't make very much money on the council, and any future council person may not be able to afford their own personal device to dedicate to council use. So that, in a way, would potentially prevent someone from participating because of laying technology expenses out on them when we make about $369 a month as it is. I think it's a burden put upon like an individual that might provide a hurdle for someone that might want to be engaged and then does not engage because of a technology expense.
So just as a budgetary item, each one of your laptops are roughly $1,000 that we replace every 4 to 5 years, making it a $200 a year in expense. Now, just because, if you were to provide your own devices, depending on how frequently the positions change, that could be, cost prohibitive.
I appreciate obviously, the feedback from the table. I also appreciate the question, Teresa.
And you've answered
That's
all
what we're
of my
here for.
questions, so
Yeah.
thank you very much.
Yeah. Okay, with that, any other questions for these two before we move on? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, have a good night.
Takes us to police dispatch. Chief Cheney, and this is page 29.
Hello.
Yep.
We have one project for 2026, which would be a replacement for one of our fleet squads. Looking to acquire either an all-electric or a hybrid platform vehicle for 2026. How we factored that in right now, that's going to likely replace our 2012 year vehicle that's currently in our fleet. I think all of you are familiar, but just as a reminder, we try to do an 8 to 10 year replacement cycle on all of our non-patrol vehicles. So vehicles that will likely see less ruggedness and use. So that would be the detective car, the chief's car, even though, as you know, I'm out there too. Our community relations officer, as an example. The patrol vehicles we try to replace every 5 years if possible, because that keeps them within the manufacturer's warranty for powertrain. Anything beyond that is city operating costs. But as I referenced, one of the squads we're looking to replace is already a 2012 vehicle that has high mileage and is certainly creeping up there with operating costs. So that's our one project for law enforcement.
How many
For 20
squads do we have?
15
Okay.
in the total fleet.
No, the
project?
squad cars, when you say, well,
Patrol vehicles only?
hmm,
You mean patrol vehicles?
yes, that's.
Differentiating between patrol and
Yeah.
squad, yeah.
Yeah, so we kind of, it's difficult to quantify because there are squads that are patrol ready that patrol sometimes uses. For
Right.
example, the community relations squad is equipped to do patrol work. The SRO squad is equipped to do patrol work. It's just assigned to them. And so sometimes when we have vehicles down, we like to keep that redundancy in the event that patrol is priority, as we know, and we can give the SRO a ride to school if needed. So we are operating with roughly about 6 or 7 of those, where it's for patrol and can be used for patrol.
Okay.
The balance of them are for non-patrol.
Okay, and you said you like to get those replaced in less than 5 years.
It's certainly 5 or close to it. It's not less than 5 years.
Right.
All of our patrol squads have been at 5 years or
But in
more
terms of the-
in replacement.
Yeah, the warranty on the powertrain.
Coverage for 5 years.
Okay.
Yeah, the bumper to bumper is for 3. And trust me, we go to the dealership every little light that's out within those 3. Beyond that, of course, we're paying attention, but 5 years is when they stop covering the powertrain issues, which obviously runs at a significant cost. We have a vehicle repair right now for one of the vehicles in our fleet that I believe is a 2016 vehicle. We had to do some pretty significant transmission work on it. That was $5,000, which in our pretty relatively small maintenance budget, that's taking a huge chunk.
Good, thanks.
Other questions? Chief? Teresa?
Yeah, Chief, in her opening remarks, the mayor commented about perhaps looking differently at how we replace vehicles, not so much looking at the age of the vehicle in years, but the mileage and the hours in some case. Does that apply here, or is that mostly just for like heavy equipment for like
I
public
would
works?
say that applies less for the police,
Yeah.
particularly for those squads that are in service.
Yeah,
I would say it applies less for the police. I'm not saying it doesn't,
right,
because it's a different use. It's highly, a heavy use.
Yeah.
The factors were not only mileage, but also how the vehicle is used.
Yes.
And the maintenance
okay,
that we've already had to,
sort of what I was thinking.
right.
Yeah, in the case of police vehicles, idling alone idling is worse than mileage.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and they idle
Yep.
all the time.
Yeah.
Yep.
And as soon as we get the Ford or another manufacturer that builds patrol-ready vehicles that fits our needs, that is also a hybrid, because
Yeah.
as you recall, Ford did away with making those vehicles for police because of the issues they were having with their hybrid technology in police vehicles. We will go back to that, so it doesn't idle on gas
Yeah.
and it
That's
turns
nice.
off and relies on battery. You've all heard me rave about the your Chevy Blazer that I operate and do traffic stops in, and it has so far been working great, but we've only had it for half a year.
Yeah.
Right, and I will tell you that part of the reason why, I mean, the request was for 2 vehicles, like the Chevy Blazer, and part of the reason why I approved only 1 in the budget was because the Blazer is a relatively new EV, and we have only had his for 6 months, and given the experience that we had with the Fords, and we've all had, I think if we've purchased, usually in the entry years, there's a little bit of, with any vehicle, there's often hiccups
Yeah.
in the first,
Right.
1 or 2 years that they iron out, and so rather than going all in
Yeah.
without having a track record, so to speak,
Yeah.
because I know that, he loves his vehicle, he talks about it all the
I
time.
never thought I would, but I do.
Yeah. That- That's
But-
actually a very good point.
Yeah.
I know that just in my line of work, we very intentionally try not to be early adopters of the latest, greatest technology. We wait till it's sort of tested in the field for 5, 6 years, and then we roll it out. I would imagine you're taking the same sort of approach.
Yeah, there's times and places, and I think you'll hear from me at future meetings about, there's times and places for innovation and
Yeah.
being okay with
Yeah.
accepting something new. But in terms of patrol, we want things that we know are true and tested, because those are the folks responding to save lives.
And when you say patrol, you mean like a very high performance, highly responsive vehicle that's really put through its
And
paces.
dependable.
And yes, yes.
Yeah, we've literally had cars, the hybrids go limp, which means they wouldn't go over 15 miles an hour. Imagine that when you're trying to race to save somebody's life.
Yeah.
So we only have a couple of those left in our inventory. Again, Ford stopped making them. We will replace those with the regular combustion engines when so authorized.
And I will say, because some of you weren't here during that time, that when we did purchase the hybrids from Ford, it came out just like the Chevy Blazer. It came out with rave reviews.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
a lot of departments bought into it because it was life-changing technology in some ways. And I remember Wally bragging about, the mileage that, they were, again, because they spend most of their time in idle, and so
Yeah.
he was really impressed with what they were saving. But again, they ended up being problematic, so much so that Ford went out of business with them. So,
Yeah, which is why, if I may, the
Yeah.
Blazer is something that's not in patrol, right?
yeah.
And I'll just add a clarification
Yeah.
to the project. This also includes another level 2 charging station,
Yeah.
in case it is a plug-in hybrid for the administrative vehicle,
Right.
or all electric.
Other questions for the chief?
I do have dispatch.
Yes.
There are no items for 2026 for dispatch.
Were there items?
No.
Thank you, Chief. That takes us to Fire and EMS. Chief McMullen, page 31.
Well, good evening.
Good evening.
I'm going to do my best to be brief. Try and get it back on track. It wasn't Mark's fault. I'm going to start with the fire protection side. 2 items on there for this year. Both are continuing funding projects that we have. First one is radio replacement. This is the 3rd year replacements for all of our mobile radios. Thanks to the hard work of Chief Eckloff, he sourced and did the research, so we're getting multi-band radios installed. So WisCom, which is a state radio network, is going to 800 megahertz. All of our radios are being future-proofed for that, so we won't have to make any changes when they make the switch over to 800 megahertz. So this will be the last year of the mobile replacement project. Only other thing. But I'm just hearing things on this, okay.
It was feedback.
Other item on there is our PPE replacement. Again, we do PPE replacement on a 10-year cycle. This is for 6 full sets of gear. They run about $4,000 a set. Those sets include the bunker pants, bunker coat, suspenders, helmet, boots, and gloves. And we do track that. We have an inventory system that we use that tracks and tells us what's coming up for replacement. So 6 sets. We maintain about 60 sets a year in the department. So it's about 6 sets a year that we replace. So that's what I've got on the fire side.
Okay. Any questions for Chief McMullen? Hearing none. Thank you, sir.
On the EMS side, it's even easier. It's one project. Again, this is a continuation project. We started replacing our cardiac monitors last year. We had a 2017, a 2019, and a 2020 model. We were slated to replace one, I believe 3 years ago, but we managed to acquire one from Town of Madison when they went out of business, which allowed us to stretch before we started replacing these. So the one that we purchased this year replaced the 2017. The one this particular year project replaces our 2019, and next year's will replace the 2020. I will just add, I believe we're getting in cardiac monitor replacement wise at a very good time. Zoll is coming out with a brand new monitor. They're still currently manufacturing the X's and will continue to do so for the next 24 to 36 months. The new monitors are considerably more expensive, so we'll have all of our monitors in place for the next 7 years.
Great. Any questions about EMS? Seeing none. Thank you.
All right, thank you, folks.
Thank you.
Takes us to community media. Will is on the screen, and that is page 73.
Yes, thank you for allowing me to be on Zoom. I appreciate it.
We miss you. Just saying.
Well, you know, when you got a 7-year-old birthday, it makes it easy for me to be a part of it, so I appreciate it.
That counts.
Okay, so yes, 73 is where it starts. That is our 5-year capital plan. I am going to go down to the itemized for 2026 on page 75, and that is your remote production updates. And these are some, I guess, rudimentary updates as far as just a camera tripod. We're going to update one of our cameras that we use quite often for a lot of video work out in the field for some of the videos we do for MESBA, as well as a lot of the pictures we take to utilize on the website and elsewhere. And we also are kind of earmarking some money in case we need to update any wireless camera transmission. So that could be for streaming, or that could be if there's a wireless camera connection that we think makes sense for some of the work we do. But we're not committed to that necessarily. We are leaving a little money because we do have things that break or that don't work. So we're kind of going to leave that either as a streaming or a wireless connection in some capacity. The next item and the last item is for an audio server storage update at the radio station. And that is for all of our audio files, obviously. And we are updating all the computers because they are not Windows 2011 ready, available, capable. So we are updating them towards the end of this year, and then we would need to update the server that connects with them because that is not going to be compatible with Windows 11 new computers as well.
Any questions for Will? Seeing none. Okay. Thank you, Will.
Thank you.
Happy birthday to your kiddo.
That's right.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Okay. That takes us to Missy. Welcome, Missy. We miss you too.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you for also allowing me to be via Zoom, everybody. Thank you. Is there a specific budget that you would like me to start with? pool, community center, or parks?
No, but we're starting on page 55, folks. So start with parks, I'd say.
All right, so majority of our parks got moved to a different funding source, which I believe majority of it is coming out of Parkland Dedication Fund instead of our capital improvement plan. So if you look, we have our Ahuska, let's see, starting, making sure I'm on the right page here. Our Arrowhead and Wild Haven Park Bubblers, which was part of the road construction plan, got changed and removed. And then if we go down to our Schluter Park Pier Gangway for $15,000, this is a replacement part of a piece at Schluter Beach, which is currently dangerous to put in for our park staff during our winterization and summerization process. It's currently a heavy steel piece item, which we are looking to replace with an aluminum. So it makes it less dependent on public works staff for needing such large equipment, and then is easier for our staff to put in and take out, as I mentioned. The Ahuska baseball field improvements for $35,000. This is just reinvesting into the baseball field itself at Ahuska. We do share this field with the high school teams. We have rental programs like the Latino League and the Men's Adult Baseball Association and Home Talent Leagues. These are some improvements to the infield and specifically part of the lift areas in between the infield and outfield that requires a little bit more knowledge and ability than our in-house staff projects. So this would be a contracted out project. The park tree removal, replacement, and treatment that is getting moved possibly to the urban tree program and some donated funds. One thing that is important to know and be aware of that we are able to replace trees and bushes out of this source, but we would like to try and keep some funding in here for removal of trees. It does cost about $2,000 a tree for removal for some contracted services aspects of taking down trees. So we are looking, let's see.
2,000 per tree for the
Yeah,
removal?
$2,000 for removal when we're looking at Mike, working with Johnson and some of the other larger tree companies. We're talking big project trees, ash trees that possibly need to come down, or oak wilt, trees that necessarily we don't have time to fit in the public works department schedule and we just can't do in-house. And yeah, it's about $2,000 a tree to come down. Let's see, what else do we have on here?
So Missy, I actually had a question on that one.
Yeah.
And maybe, so the urban tree program, is that the urban forestry program?
Correct.
Yep.
Doesn't that require a matching local payment?
No, we have funds sitting, Mark has funds from the urban tree program that we started personally. Has nothing to do with our funds. And there's about $20,000 in that fund from donations.
But these would be planted on public land, correct?
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
And that fund was only set up for public land by the city of Monona when Brian was city administrator.
Yeah, it's not the Monona
It's
Tree
not-
Program.
it's
It's
not-
different.
it's not-
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Right.
We have lots of
do we think
avenues
that's-
and sources for,
Sorry?
we have lots of avenues and sources for tree replacement, whether it be a donation fund or the tree program that we have started through Monona. But like I said, that removal is really where the heavy expense on our department comes in.
Okay. Sorry. I guess my question is really, is that going to be sustainable beyond this year? Mark?
Depends where it is.
I don't think there has been much advertising or promotion about that program, so
Yeah, I mean, I
perhaps.
imagine it's kind of till the money runs out, so it's kind of a one-time thing.
Uh-oh.
Right.
Well, we haven't been using it since, we basically got the grant. Very limited money.
Okay. Sure. I guess, and to me, the tree replacement would not be something I would, maybe it works for this year, but in longer term, I'd rather see us put our GO borrowing behind it and make sure that it actually happens and not, not sort of make it go out and beg for money. I mean, I'm assuming that, well, I'll leave it at that. 'Cause
Yeah.
Well, we still gotta use the money up that we haven't spent in
Right.
2 years or something,
Yeah.
so.
Well,
Right, it's been at
I'll
least,
save
it's
that.
been at least 2 years, right. Because we haven't advertised it, frankly, we haven't promoted it to say that we have that fund. And I will say also that Jake indicated when we talked to him that he felt like there was, that he was, Parks was further ahead than Public Works, undoubtedly because of the square area that they have to cover and the number of trees, but he felt he was farther ahead in terms of removal and replacement. Then he said there were very few ashes, if any, left, and that he thought he was further ahead. So, just as a point of information, we're just, yeah.
Hey, this is Missy for a second.
You bet. Especially since Missy's no longer here at the moment.
Oh, that's what happened.
Are we allowed to keep going?
What was that, just a?
Yeah, it's,
Yeah.
we're open.
The door's
Maybe
open.
about it.
Got it.
All you gotta have is.
What happened?
Want to take a break?
Just have to.
I see what you're saying.
What happened?
Sorry.
When
Just
the-
have to have bid it.
When that little power stuff
Yeah.
happened,
Yeah, we did.
apparently,
Oh,
Kick this off, like, maybe we take a little time out.
Yeah, let's
Time for a recess.
yeah, let's take a time out because I don't want to not have it recorded. We'll figure
Okay.
out what the story is. Do we know what? It's being
It's coming
rebooted?
back, yep.
All right, up, so, no, spoke too soon. Sorry. We will take a break, but not right now.
Still have time.
we
Nothing's
gotta get all those guys back.
Yeah.
No, we lost everybody.
It's gonna change a little bit.
that was definitely a power surge.
Yeah.
It's still
No
burning
idea
out.
why that happened.
Missy's.
It must have been power source.
Squirrels.
Squirrel.
This is good.
When you talk?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
I think he's done.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Any of the others.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That's all right.
We know it's your fault.
Missy's
Why is my microphone so hot? Did you hear that?
We got Missy.
We got this?
Coming back in now, yeah.
She's coming back in right now. So in the meantime, well, let's wait until she gets back so she can hear what you say.
And are we recording?
Yeah. Make sure
He will be,
he's-
once he's back on,
Huh?
he'll see, just make sure we're all back on.
The pasta salad.
And microphone's working, there we go. That's usually our system here that is recording, so.
Yeah, I just want to make sure.
Am I back in?
Yeah, welcome
Yeah, we're
back.
getting ready to-
Sorry.
Yeah, we're good. It also just popped all back on, so we're good. Thanks, guys.
Okay, so Missy, as we cut out, are you still there?
I am. Sorry, I have no idea where I cut out.
As we cut out, Dan offered to come up to the mic 'cause, just to comment on something that you were referencing around the trees. So,
Perfect.
Dan?
Okay, So Missy mentioned that their tree removal is going to cost somewhere on average around $2,000. You got to keep in mind that the park trees that they have are very large trees compared to what we have typically in the terrace.
Yeah.
You know, greater than 100 feet in height, canopy maybe 75 feet in diameter, large trunks, and that takes a lot of specialized cutting, chopping up and things like that. So I think $2,000 for the park trees is probably a pretty good ballpark.
Yeah.
You know, for smaller trees, you're looking at around $1,200, $1,500.
Right.
So, but they're very large trees, so I guess keep that in mind when,
Yeah.
for the park tree price. Thanks.
Appreciate that. Thank you, Dan.
I was actually going to say that
Dan,
it's
for that.
a low price.
Yeah,
I
I mean,
think the price
I-
is pretty low. I mean,
Yeah, well,
having just
and
gone
keep in
through
mind
that at
that
my
they
own
give us
home.
a
Yeah.
bulk price. They don't do
Oh,
a retail,
sure.
they don't do a
Right, makes sense.
consumer price. So, okay, so Missy, we finished with, I think we finished with trees. What's next on your list?
I think what I just had next, everything else in the funding source, I believe, has gotten moved or reallocated to a different year, which was the concept engineering for Winnequa Park and the crack filling and seal coating of the Winnequa Fireman's and Pool parking lot. So I
Right.
believe everything else has gotten moved.
Right, so we were gonna go, so
the
that
park-
takes us to pool or the community center, whichever. Again,
The
things that-
community center is
oh,
quick, so we'll just do the building envelope study for 15,000. So this is just a study that will help us figure out what the future of the community center building use possibly is for, looking at cost savings on different type of mechanical equipment, windows. So kind of seeing what the future of the community center, which houses not only the Park and Rec department, but as you all know, the senior center as well. So seeing what the future of that building possibly can hold.
Right, we did, just as a point of information for everybody that may not recall, we did do building envelope studies on other facilities of ours previously, but we did not do the community study at that time, which is why we're having to do it now.
Thank you, Mayor. The pool, we're asking for a total of 108,000 between 5 different projects, all relatively small in monetary amounts when you individualize them out. The leak detection inspection, we do know that we have a leak. We do not know where. We do know that every year that we go with a leak just pushes the issue out farther, which ultimately costs us more money in the long run between heating, treating, and loss of water. So really figuring out where that leak is coming from will really help. And we can't really do that with people in the pool, but we do need water in the pool. So we need to do it pre or post season to kind of figure out and kind of pinpoint where that leak is coming from. I believe they do a dye type test, so they figure out where possibly leaks are coming from that way. Furniture deck replacement for $8,000. This is just due to wear and tear on the furniture that's out on pool deck. We do push a lot of people through the facility, and we haven't had a deck furniture replacement in 3 years, I believe. So it is time that we just start replacing some of the upright and lay down chairs that we have around the facility. The pool painting, that will include the large pool and the small wading pool. So it's both pool basins of the facility. We do have to do this on a every 5, 6, 7 year type calendar season, all depending on the quality of how the pool basin looks and just the fading of some of the black lines. So this does help not only us as lifeguards with clarity issues in the pool, but also does help Monona Swim and Dive, who loves to have nice clear lane lines to swim in. So that's the $50,000 there. Locker room plumbing replacement at 15. We have been doing replacement on the toilets at the facility. Each year, we do see a lot of use, as I mentioned before, at the facility. The more hands, the more flushing, the more issues we have. We have a couple toilets that we've tried replacing the flush basin, the push buttons to make them flush. I think we've replaced some one too many times, and we have some bigger issues going on, so it does require some behind the scenes plumbing changing, and we did have one toilet that has a cracked basin that is not in working order currently, and we would like that in working order, as we did get knocked at the health department for having a non-working toilets. And then pool deck concrete repair. This is just some sagging and some fissure cracks in some of the areas on the pool deck. It does require a little bit more knowledge and ability than what we can do in-house, just due to some of the structural integrity underneath the pool deck and where some of the plumbing and catch basins are for the overflow tanks. So we will need some updates on some of those, just patches and areas on the pool deck that are there. Questions?
Questions for Missy?
Missy, I've got a question about the pool painting. Obviously, there's cosmetic benefits. It looks pretty, but you started to speak a little bit about other benefits. Could you repeat those, please?
Yeah, so as you know, the pool chemicals that we use at the facility, they do a little wear and tear on the paint. So the longer we go with out painting, the cloudier water that we see, which then poses a safety risk for the pool patrons that are in the facility. From a lifeguard standpoint and from a pool mechanical standpoint, clear water is better water, and sometimes it does have to do with the environment that the water is in, which water and paint don't, they're not best friends. So they do cause some issues, especially with the chemical aspect in the water. So definitely a safety aspect. Aesthetically, you mentioned it does look prettier, but we do see when we go to clean the facility in the spring, when we're power washing, we do get a lot of paint chip residue, which then each year or each season when we're cleaning out filters, we just find some of that paint chip residue within our filter systems, and a cleaner filters work better, so the less paint chips we can get in there, the better.
Yeah.
So there's a few behind the scene things that aren't necessarily aesthetically pleasing, but they do have functionality behind them.
Thank you for explaining that.
Yes, Rick?
Missy, at one of the sustainability committee meetings, we had a presentation from a bunch of students about saving energy, and the pool came up. And the one simple thing that was suggested, I don't know if it got passed on to you or what you might make of it, but just putting a covering on the pool at night could save a lot of energy. Have you ever thought of that?
Yeah, we did have a pool cover
Yeah.
prior to 2010. So I believe they tried it out for 5 seasons. They realized the time that it took for staff to put it on was not efficient in the AM or the PM with the pool schedule. It did take time, and I don't think that the cost savings were as high as what they anticipated. In 2012, we put a variable frequency drive on, which is a system that helped regulate the flow of the meter based off of pool use and pool timing. And that's actually been our biggest and greatest cost savings. And we did just replace the VFD this past pool season because it did unfortunately break. But that's been our biggest cost savings that we've seen, because it just helps regulate the pump at its peak hours.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rick. Anything else? Any other questions for Missy? on anything parks? Okay, Parks Community Center. Okay, Missy, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. That takes us to library. Ryan. We are at page 61.
Good evening.
Welcome.
Thank you. So the one project the library had was lights for 4 offices. And this actually started from a health concern. I've had staff in those offices that have had a sharp increase in migraines since working in those spaces. And we've looked at the lights, and it is inadequate lighting for those spaces. It's like lights that were not meant to be in a workspace pointing up, and they're in improper spots, a lot of shadows. And one of my staff in particular has gone to the doctor, and they said this lighting is a problem. So we've looked at fixing that by replacing the lights with lights that do not have a flicker rate, that can be installed correctly with the purpose of having, like, this is a workspace. One example is one of these spaces we call the glass office. It's the one, if you go to the library, it's like there's windows all around it. That used to be the computer lab in that space, so that lighting that was installed there was meant for when there's a lot of computer monitors in that room, and I don't believe it's been upgraded since. So it was not really designed for someone to be working there for a full business day, looking at screens. Now, there has been somewhat of a recent development with this project to share. So working with Brad and Neil, there are funds this year we have identified that we could use for the high priority spaces. That would be the glass office and then the youth services office, where I have staff also getting frequent migraines. And we have developed funding for that space to be taken care of. So that would be approximately a little under half this project, which would mean the remaining funds would be $18,465. That would be for the director's office along with the business coordinator, and then the back workroom where my pages are and the library assistants that when they have to go back to do their duties. I will fully tell you, the 2 offices that we have been able to get funds for this year, that to me is the highest priority. Those are the spaces where staff have been having health concerns, and I really appreciate the city doing everything they can to address those issues. The other 2 spaces also has inadequate lighting. I've had headaches since like 2007, so I can't really say it's that particular lighting, but I never turn on the lights either. I just use natural lights or the glow from the screen, which doctors say is not good, and that's my issue. With the back workroom, staff have not specifically cited that they're having health concerns in there, and I've asked, but it has been addressed that it's inadequate lighting for a workspace, so that's why we've included it in this. But the spaces that are the highest priority, which is the glass office and the youth services office, those are being addressed this year. So the $18,465 remaining is for my office and the business coordinator, as well as the back workroom office.
Right, thank you. Yeah.
Just so I'm clear on that, so right now the budget is a total of $29,000 with part of it coming from savings from this year's projects. You're saying that instead of 29, you actually need 18.5?
Correct.
Okay.
All right. Any other questions for Ryan? Seeing none? Thank you very much. Brad.
It's gonna be different in this chair and stuff.
Okay. Aren't you always a little different?
I gotta take that just the best. All right. So, good evening, everybody. Sorry, I apologize.
Page 50, page 25.
So I think that the only item on here, unless the building improvements is on there, is the library lower level HVAC replacement project. So this project has been in the works since 2018. It's been pushed year after year as our highest priority HVAC project. because it is a big ticket item. This project would essentially eliminate the entire HVAC system that's in the maintenance room down here, which services the entire lower level of the library. There have been numerous issues annually, not just one or two things. It's kind of recurring over and over and over again. We keep pumping money into the existing system just to kind of limp it along, get it going, keep going. The system is wholly undersized. It's a hodgepodge mix of new, old, and very old. The communication system, the control system that run the entire program no longer communicate with our overhead system. So we have a supervisory network and we have the library network, and these two do not communicate with one another. So when I go to make changes on the system, I go to raise or lower a temperature in a space, it gets completely out of whack, sends the system into haywire. We've had multiple cases where the HVAC system cooling wouldn't shut off, and then it froze the hot water coil, which is right behind the cooling coils, and then it popped the hot water coils, and then the heat went to turn on, and water went spraying out all over the maintenance room. Now both coils have holes in them. We have not yet replaced them because replacing them is fairly expensive, and if we can limp along through the winter and get this project done sometime early next year, that would be the goal. If that means, you know, Jerry's not in the room, right? Adding space heaters to certain spaces down here, we may have to do so. We'll see. If we can do it, we will do it, so long as this funding comes through for next year's project. So we were asking $1,050,000. I think that was cut by about $72,000. So our contingency is just under 10% of the project cost. Hopefully the bids come in favorable if that's the case. I'll take any questions anybody might have.
People will remember that this is a top priority, has been a top priority, as Brad just said, for quite some time, and it was a top priority last year. We had 3 big ticket items last year. We only did one with the Public Works garage.
I'll just quick add, during this project, and I've talked with Brad to do our best to have it where, because when this happens, my understanding is the lower level is going to be effectively shut down.
We basically won't have airflow down here at all.
Yeah, so I'm going to see what can be done where we try to schedule it around peak library season, knowing that that's not 100% certainty, but that is definitely the goal, since access to the lower level and any library services that we offer down here will have to be paused during that time.
And to be clear, that includes this room.
Correct.
So we'll probably be moving council
and municipal court
during that process. So.
Any questions related to this project? Okay. Thank you, Brad.
Thank you.
And it takes us to Public Works. Can I suggest a stretch or a break? I know, just because Dan's just a little bit longer. Yeah,
Yep.
Does that work?
That's a great idea.
Just 10 minutes, 5 minutes? Get this
I can go as quick as you want. Just give you everything you want, right?
Reminds me, Dan,
Dan,
that reminds me of an Office episode where, did you ever watch The Office?
At times.
At times.
Yeah.
There was one where they were trying to do something efficient and just skip every other word in conversation on reports. So it was kind of funny. Yes. Yes.
Yep.
Pages are still lining up.
Yes.
Because that one doesn't have.
Anyway.
There has been an uptick.
Well, yes, there has, but,
Okay,
You get
we are back in order.
yeah.
Good. He's giving us the thumbs up inside.
All right.
So Dan, you're on. This is, we're at number 9, Public Works and Utilities. And we're on page 37.
Thank you, Mayor. So I believe my first one here for introducing would be the Lagoon to Nord Bridge replacement. Is that what you have as well?
Mhm.
Okay. This project started back in 2022 when we were awarded the federal grant to replace this bridge. The revised agreement came out in 2023 where the DOT is committing to covering 100% of eligible costs. We are going to be planned for construction in 2027 for the bridge. So right now in 2025 and carrying into 2026, design is still being completed and they're transitioning into the real estate phase where they're looking at either TLE and if they have to purchase permanent easement, they're still looking at that. We're still working with MG&E for relocating power lines and communication lines and things of that nature. Anything outside of DOT funding is our cost ourselves as a city. That would be relocation of the water main, which we do have to do. DOT does not fund infrastructure such as that. So to carry us through 2026, we're just asking for $25,000 to continue on with design and the real estate acquisition, getting ready for 2027 construction. Any questions on that one?
I have a question, which I didn't ask you when we were meeting. Is this the last bridge we're doing? Because we've done 3 bridges, I think, in my town.
This should be, yeah, we did Bridge Road Bridge, rehab that one in 2019. We did the South Winnequa Bridge replacement. I think that was in 2022 or 2021. This should be the last one where we replace.
Okay.
The Lagoon du Sud Bridge at Tecumseh seems to be in good condition.
Okay.
WISDOT's contracted engineer is inspecting the bridges right now, so we should get our 2025 report here shortly.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
but if there's deficiencies that come up, I'm definitely bringing it forward. So.
Okay. Thank you. Keep going.
Okay, moving on. The road reconstruction project. The revised request here is $3,163,000. This is a big project. It's been delayed twice. We're hoping that we can move it forward in 2026. The bullet points that you see on the capital request sheet outline the work that we do have to do. There is an accessible portion to this project. We are hoping to have our second public information meeting in November, but I need to present with the Public Works Committee here this coming Wednesday to finalize that. But the approximate quantities are detailed on the sheet. The breakdowns of all the costs are in the table below. The revised amount is $3.163 million. The initial request was $3.213 million. The reduction was in the amount of contingency, I believe, is where that was. So, are there any questions on that project?
Yeah, just to follow up, you said part of it would be accessible, and could you maybe just explain what that means, and do you know about how much of it?
I do. On Arrowhead from Wildhaven to Vokes, that section does not have curb and gutter right now. It has an asphalt edge to it, which is not considered a true curb and gutter. So with this project, it will receive water main, new curb and gutter, new road bed. The accessible items are related to the curb and gutter and the road bed and asphalt only. Roughly 610 feet of this project. There's 14 parcels that will be receiving assessments. I do have a tentative schedule laid out for this fall of when City Council and Public Works Committee will review the report, the assessment report and preliminary assessments, and then the public hearing. The residents that will be assessed should receive something as far as a preliminary estimate, probably within the next month and a half. But we need to have our second public information meeting first. So.
And the accessible part is just the roadway surface, or between the curbs, or it includes
It includes the curb and gutter,
Gutter
the
and-
road bed, and the asphalt.
Okay.
Nothing utility related can be assessed.
And it's 60/40.
60/40, yes, 60% residential, 40% city.
Right,
Yep.
thanks.
I have a
Any other questions
question
for that one?
related to this, which is, I've heard that there is a resident who I believe lives on Arrowhead that has been in contact,
Arrowhead at Winnequa Road?
potentially, yeah, that has been in contact about, I think it was, somebody told me it was about flooding, and they were wondering about whether this project would impact it or improve it, or what, you know what I'm talking about?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
So I believe the parcel is on Arrowhead, just
Okay.
prior to Winnequa Road.
Okay.
In heavier rains, they have a low spot where water apparently settles at the driveway.
Okay.
It is not in our construction zone, but
Okay.
we are doing some work up in the north end of, Toniwatha, not Winnequa Road, Arrowhead and Toniwatha. We are looking at possibly adding an additional inlet that's nearby, which would be minimal cost.
Okay.
We can't do significant infrastructure because it's not in the full construction zone. So the engineers at MSA think an easier fix to address some of it would be to add that second inlet and then to upsize one portion of the storm main. It still is a smaller diameter towards the outfall, but at least it'll help capture more water at the driveway and get it into the system.
Okay.
So,
Fantastic.
and I believe Greg did meet on site with the resident, so.
Fantastic. It's great to hear. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions for that one? Okay. Moving on is our annual street maintenance account. Seeking $200,000 for this one. We were originally requesting $300,000. This is the capital budget item that we use to do our chip sealing program and our mill and overlay program, street resurfacing, things like that. Is there any questions for this one?
Yeah, I do, I guess. This is an item that really, is, I think, really important that we keep up with. I know you have 200,000 in GO bonds. Was there a plan to do more than that with some other revenue?
Yeah. I think the thinking was when Mark recommended cutting back to 200, I think the thinking was, for starters, as we all know, maybe Rachel doesn't know, but the rest of us know, Dan is always conservative in his budgeting, so he almost always comes through under budget. And I don't know that we've actually spent every penny of the 300,000 every year that you've had it. And so that was part of our thinking behind that. Is that fair to say, Mark?
Part of it, and also part of it is how much, at least the last 3 years, we spent about maybe budget about 100,000. And we figured we would have to get to 300,000 next year after, so
Right.
it's kind of a one-time bump for that too. So
Right.
that was part of the other side.
Okay.
Okay, so my question though is, I thought there was some talk at least of that there's a balance left over, that money could be used to, so that there would still be $300,000 budgeted. It would just be 200 in GO and 100 from other revenue. Is that not the case?
No, it's not that one.
Okay.
I mean, if there's
And
leftover
it's not,
money,
it doesn't show it now.
if there's money left over, you can just carry over to that account. So-
Okay, all right.
There's two items on page 77 that talk about a change to this item. Is it just a duplicate by chance?
Oh, no. So it was 310 was the original number. So 10,000 of it is for basically sidewalks, and I can't remember what the other 10,000 is for.
We basically use that 10 grand for curb repair.
Yeah,
and
so that's just gonna go
sidewalk
to the
repair.
operating budget, because that's actually really kind of an operating expense. So you'll see it in the operating budget, I moved it already. When it comes out.
Okay.
Other questions on that line item? Go ahead.
Okay. The next item would be the sidewalk improvements for the Metro bus stop. We do have 4 locations. We're requesting $83,000 for this. These are the areas that we cannot do with city staff. So we do have Strand ready to assist us with ADA compliant sidewalk intersection ramps. We have about 740 feet of sidewalk to install at the 4 locations. 2, maybe 3 of these locations for sure, we do have sloping right-of-way that the engineers have to take into consideration when they design the sidewalk in the intersection ramps. So this would cover their assistance with design, bidding, and then also construction cost. Any questions on that? Okay. Moving on, the next one would be the Wallace Avenue improvements. I believe this was one that was removed from the capital budget last year. It did make it in this year so far for tonight. I do have a few photos included in the packet to kind of help give you an idea of what we're looking at. But the goal here is to replace the water main, cast iron water main in this section, a complete replacement of the road bed, and then new asphalt. This asphalt that you see in the photos here was replaced, I believe, in 2011 or 12. It was a full depth replacement, and we did replace some of the road bed, but it's the road bed is essentially shot. It needs to be replaced, and as long as we have cast iron main below, and we have a history of breaks in this area, it's considered a small project. Looking at $70,000 for design, and this will be put forward to all 3 of our engineers for pricing if passed. Then we would plan for construction probably in 2027. The MG&E substation is nearby as well, and getting a beefier roadbed will help with some of the rigs that they bring in there. The second half of this request would be just a complete asphalt replacement to St. Teresa, from Valerie to St. Teresa. Any questions for this one?
I would just remind folks that one of the downsides of delaying Tony Waffa was that we had 2 main breaks this winter up there.
I think since the delay, we've probably had 3 or 4 of them.
Right. I think it was just 2 this winter. So delaying on these old cast iron mains is always a bit of Russian roulette, to put it in Doug Woodard terms. Okay.
Okay, moving on, the next item would be our...
Oh, yeah.
I think you just
Sign
this
on.
last time.
Okay. The next item would be our terrace tree planting program. This is for the planting of our terrace trees. In the operating budget, we have funding set aside for removal, but in the capital budget is where we buy our trees. Our annual request usually is $25,000, and Jeff does a great job of pretty much using up the majority of this money. It fills in the gaps in our terrace areas throughout the city to replant trees, and usually if we take a tree out, we like to come back and put more trees in. So that's what this funding will cover.
Okay. So this brings up the question for me related to Missy's comment about tree removal in the parks. Because part of the reason why, we were going to use donated funds was that I thought that Parks was budgeting the same way that Public Works was in terms of their trees, which is to say that removal would be in their operating budget, as opposed to replacement, which would be in capital, which is what Dan does. So
Yeah. That's what it's supposed to be. I didn't realize that tonight when we were doing our removals in there. So I thought it was just a pure planting inside.
right, with both of these in the capital, you thought both of them were just the
Yeah, I didn't realize the
planting,
part-
not the
yeah.
removal, and that the removal would be in the operating budget, because we've never had a removal in the capital
Removals in
budget.
the operating, spending that.
Okay.
The only time that we did have removal in the capital
We
was
did
for the
for
ash
the
trees.
ash trees.
Yeah, and we removed about 1,000 of them within like a 3-4 year
Because the
period.
sheer
Right.
scale of the project.
Right.
Because the scale, right, I remember that. Right, so we should expect to, if there needs to be removal for Park and Rec, we should expect to see it in the operating budget.
Yeah, my guess is that's probably if it's been that way in the past, I'd be surprised to see it be presented differently, so we'll verify that that's correct.
Yeah, I think consistency there would be helpful. Okay.
Okay, moving on, the next item would be the rapid flash beacon for East Broadway. The price there is $25,000. The system that we plan to install is very similar to the dual system that you see at East Falcon Circle at Broadway. The only difference there is we do have to install a pedestrian landing pad in the median. So the picture that you see on the capital request sheet is about where this system is going to be installed. We do have to obtain a Dane County Highway right-of-way permit. A dual system, solar powered, the landing pad in the center, and then the crosswalk markings. So we figure we can get everything we need for less than $25,000. And also that's based on a similar system that we installed this year in Southtown at Royal Avenue. So pretty comparable. Any questions on that one?
Questions?
Okay. The next item would be in the water utility, the water tower painting. It's the painting of the interior and exterior of the 400-gallon tower, 400,000-gallon tower. Last painted in 2006. Usually about every 20 years, you want to do a new, fresh painting on the inside and outside. The tower was inspected in 2023, and there's indications on the exterior that it's time for repainting. So we have Strand signed up to assist us with engineering. They are working on the plans right now, hoping to go to bid either at the end of 2025 or early 2026, and looking at spring, summer painting of next year. Looking for funding in the amount of $490,000 for that.
Wow.
Any questions?
Wow.
Why is it so expensive?
Have you ever been inside of a water tower?
Is it
You've
the
been up to a
inside?
water tower?
It's inside and outside.
Okay, but is the inside the more expensive? Like, is that where the?
No, basically the expense is tied to labor. The height, 400,000 gallons is a relatively large tower. The small tower that you see next to it is 100,000 gallons. But it's, that's just the going
So
rate.
professional climbers, I mean, they have to
Yeah.
be, harnessed up big time and.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's confined space, it's, it's,
Right.
yeah.
So I mean, that bulk of that cost is tied up in labor, so.
So it's not something that a Eagle Scout project could accomplish.
They can probably do the base.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
But it has to be special paint too. It has to be AWWA approved paint process. It has to be approved by the DNR, permitted by the DNR, so it's tied to regulations as well, so.
But there's always a first. Do you have an Eagle Scout in your household, Patrick?
Someone was looking for a project. I don't think that's it, though. Yes.
Dan, could you explain the aspects of painting the water tower that are not related to beautification? So we all know that it's going to look prettier from the outside, but can you explain why it's necessary from other aspects of that work?
Well, as far as interior, it's due to corrosion and exterior. So if you have corrosion and you have bare metal where the paint has either chipped off, you're accelerating that corrosion. And pitting is being caught, or is the result. So as far as beautification,
My question was excluding beautification. So I'm interested in fielding questions when people say, who cares if it doesn't look pretty? $490,000 is a lot of money to make it look pretty, but it's not just about appearances, it's about something else.
Yep, very true. This painting, interior and exterior, is nothing to do with visual aspects of
Right.
this. Is to attend to the corrosion that is happening, and is to seal the exposed areas, and as well as apply a new coating to meet AWWA standards for thickness. That will carry us another 20 years. So that's what it boils down to, is the corrosion.
Does the interior paint deterioration have any impact on safe drinking water?
No, that's strictly to ensure that you address the deficiencies of your tower, because I don't know if you ever seen patched water towers as you drive the countryside, but the last thing you want to do is spring a leak in a water tower.
Yeah. I was going to say 400,000 gallons coming down. Would not be fun.
The pressure would be,
Holy smokes.
so it's just good practice to stay on top of the maintenance. If all goes well, it should last 20 years. So, but you do have to do periodic power washing about every 7 years or so to get rid of the mold on the bottom side, things like that.
Okay.
So we do get it inspected per DNR regulation, state statutes. We get it inspected interior every year, and then about every 5 years exterior. So.
I've got a question. I have one question.
Yep.
There are burial mounds up on that hill. Do you do anything special to protect them?
They shouldn't come near the mounds up there, but I believe all that is usually a typical. It's automatic in our spec manual, just given the fact that we're in the area where we have mounds in Monona and in the area, so. It's a standard in these contracts where you account for the burial mounds, but I believe they are not in the zone where any type of construction is going to happen.
All right, thanks.
So I will. I'll be sure that I'll cover that with Strand too, and they're just to make sure that they're accounting for it.
Thank you.
Yep. Any other questions? Okay. The last item, I believe, for the projects would be the sewer main repair engineering, seeking $25,000 for that work. We did take, I believe, a 1-year break on this. What this money goes towards is reviewing the videotapes and identifying the areas where we have I&I, infiltration and inflow, in essence, clear water into the sanitary sewer system. So our goal is to always be proactive in looking for these areas, and once we have enough lined up that we can do a project, we'll be coming forward probably in 2027 and 2028 for sewer main lining or repair of any cracked pipes. So this will help pinpoint the areas, and it'll go towards a project. Any questions on that one? Okay.
Dan, I have a question that, it's up further on the list, the sidewalk improvement, Metro bus stop. This is, the word sidewalk means sidewalk. You're not talking about bus pads at the bus stops.
For the Metro,
Yeah.
these are the locations that we have to install sidewalks per the agreement from the intersection to where the pad is. So,
Okay.
yeah, at all 4 locations, the total footage is about 740 feet. So it's just from the intersection to the pads at these locations.
Got
It's
it.
part of our original contract with
Yeah.
Metro.
That was my next question.
That
Thank
they
you.
grandfathered it when
Yeah.
it started in March, but said it had to be done this year.
Yeah, excellent, thank you.
Before you move on to the next budget, I did have a question about something that's not in there anymore. The Nicholas Road design that was 130,000 that was in and was removed. Do you know about how much the city has already spent on the design of that?
I don't have that data. I
That's
thought
why I
Brad got
asked.
that. Did Brad get that to you?
Brad
or-
did get, yeah, and
Okay.
his answer was about 120,000.
That sounds-
I forwarded it to him. I thought he passed it on to you. Let me see.
Yeah,
It's like 86,000.
right, but he said there's another, well, we don't need to get into that. There's some additional dollars that still are owed.
Well, from what I looked at where the contract is, we're paid up all the way through August, so the only contract, so we'd only have one more
Okay.
September. So if he's doing it past a certain date, yeah, we have more to pay, but we were paid all through, I looked last week, paid through August.
Yeah,
It's
I think I'm sorry, he was including costs associated with applying for the grant in the first place, so that he's estimating the total all-in city cost up to now is 120,000. But whether it's 86 or 120, we do have that in, and the design money, we don't get any federal dollars for that. So the federal money that we would get for this project only starts when we actually do the construction. So you could argue we're a little bit late if we didn't want to do the project.
Would
Yeah,
I
that's-
rather we didn't spend the 86 or the 120,000, probably, but I don't, again, from my point of view, we've got other priorities, and because we don't have settled, it seems to be designing parking lots, redoing parking lots, redoing, what was the other piece that was Jake's, the parking and
That's the entrance to
traffic
it.
flow and some other things, plus, it just seemed like to spend $1 million when we don't know exactly what we're gonna be doing on the civic campus right now. Could change curb cuts, it could change traffic flow, it could change, so why spend the money on design now?
Yeah.
That's my point.
You spend a lot of money making it and then just tear it all back up again.
Right.
Yeah, it can't, yeah.
Well, my thought, I don't want to belabor this because I'm probably going to offer an amendment to this effect, but is, and now I lost my train of thought because I've been looking at numbers for too many hours. Well, hopefully I'll remember what I was going to say
Okay.
when I'm
We're here,
prepared
all the
to
way
get-
through questions.
Right.
Maybe you should just get up and walk out and come back in again, that usually works for me.
Oh, right. Well, then I forget what I went out for in the first place.
Right.
I may not come back.
I like that.
Yeah, so we can hash it out more when there's an amendment.
Okay. Next.
Okay.
Oh, actually, I'm sorry, I did remember. There you go. Brad also said that there's, under the current contract, they're gonna be doing soil borings here in the next few weeks, so I assume we're we're gonna go finish this contract that they're under. Because I think if we're not, then I think you need to ask the council for approval to do that.
With other projects, we have finished current contracts, so I
Right.
would say that this, I mean, like, for instance, with well number 4.
Right.
We finished this contract.
Right.
So I would assume that they probably,
Finish out the design work and,
Yeah.
and soil borings. Right.
yeah. Yep. Other questions?
So just so I understand, so the design would need to be done no matter what? The
Yeah,
design
Strain is
that-
under contract to complete the design, so we'd have to cancel the contract. I mean, it's already been signed and approved by council.
It's a 2-year, at least in the budget, the design is cut over 2 years, right? I mean, it was in this year's, and it was gonna be in next year's.
Yeah, I don't know the specifics on that, Underwood.
Or it may have actually been in 24.
Mark's got it.
Yeah.
I don't know exactly, I know the contract is $250,000 from everything, and we've spent $69,000, so there's $180,000 left. If we're gonna go all the way through the finish, then we can add more money in there, so we didn't put enough money in there.
Well, isn't that why we split it, the funding over 2 different budgets?
That's why we had the money in the issues.
Right, to finish it. So
So,
I guess,
I mean, to complete it, we're gonna add more money in there, so I don't, so I would.
So maybe we won't.
I would assume we're not gonna do it.
but they, okay, but I think the idea would be they would keep doing it until we make a decision on the capital budget at least.
Yeah.
And I certainly would defer to the director, but obviously I would think something like soil borings is going to be good data.
Oh, for sure.
regardless. So it would be,
Yeah.
that would be a good stopping point to
Yeah.
just complete that work and keep that information on file, whether it's now or 5 years from now. I mean,
Well, that contract has been signed, and I think they have plans to mobilize like this week to begin doing that work. But I think we would obviously need some guidance from the city administrator and council on canceling these contracts with our engineers. I mean, if that's the case, we would have to do that pretty quick here. I'm assuming their budgets are based on our commitment. So, I mean,
My general sense is if it's something, to go back to Doug's point, I think Doug's point, my sense is that if it's data that will be fine, I mean, that will remain the same when we get to some sort of project for Nichols, then it probably wouldn't hurt to continue the contracts. I mean, not unlike with well number 4 contract. We said, let's finish this piece because the surveying isn't gonna change at Waterman,
right.
right? The engineering work that they were whatever they were doing, you know, in the initial phase was
Right.
stuff that would be the same whenever we get around to it.
Right.
Right.
Yep, it'll be shelf ready.
Right, it'll be,
Well
thank you,
forward.
that would be the technical
Yeah.
term that I forgot.
Mm.
Self-ready.
I think certainly, Director and I could probably take a look at the contract and maybe consult with Attorney Cole on exactly what our options would be on that. I
Yeah.
do think if there's a natural place in terms of collecting information that is going to have a shelf life and be good for a while, proceeding and getting that regardless of where we end up doing with the project, that useful information.
Yeah.
So I think we would certainly see if that would make sense, but I think we would need to take a look at the contract.
Did that contract actually come to city council?
Yeah, Brad's been the manager on Nichols Road. I've only been
I don't remember seeing it myself.
at a supervisory level for that, so it's
And obviously, we don't know if the grant can be extended either. I know that's something that Doug Wood has expressed interest in. I don't know if anybody
Right.
else feels that way, but I don't know if that the MPO funding is tied federally in a way that it could disappear or
Yeah, I think,
wouldn't.
well, correct me if I'm wrong, I think it's in, this one, this project is currently in this current funding cycle, and if we delayed again, it actually would be bumped to the next funding cycle. So there would be
It's at
actually
the-
some additional
if I-
approvals.
If I remember correctly, it's at the last year, the the TIP, the Transportation Improvement Program.
That's, exactly.
So, but we do, those get renewed,
Mm-hmm.
you know, they roll over another year annually.
Yeah.
So, you know, whether the staff and board would agree to that, I think my guess is they probably would be okay with it, but, you know.
Right, and then again,
At some
we would
point
be
they do.
spending $1 million of our own to get that money from them, so, right. Okay. Yeah, why don't you take a look at that contract?
We'll have
See if there's
a
a,
recommendation on that.
great, thank you. Anything
Okay.
else?
Moving on to equipment. Okay. First item for equipment would be a funding adjustment for the plow truck that we've had on order since November of 2022. We need $40,500 to complete the upfit order package. And to be fair, we knew this all throughout the past few years. International and Burke have always told us that they couldn't give us a solid price until things go into production. And as we presented the capital budgets and updates over time, we've mentioned that the truck has been built. I know my capital request sheet says it's at Burke, but it's at our shop right now until we can get our funding, and we have to get in the queue at Burke. So, you know, we are looking at sometime in 2026 for this upfit package to be built and delivered back to the city. So it's amazing what COVID in 2020 has done, and we're still feeling the effects of that. So, you know, keep our fingers crossed. Hopefully everything goes okay, that we can get our truck early in 2026. So.
Just one thing on that. So we did move this to other revenues because we have a revenue source already from the Atwood project savings. So technically, we could bring it to council and have it approved at the next meeting if that's an issue otherwise.
It's, I mean, from what I understand with Jeff, as far as when we're in the queue at Burke, if we approve the funding now, we don't jump in the line. They already have us in a spot, and it doesn't sound like it's going to be built anytime this year yet, so.
If we approve the funding and then slide something on the, oh, sorry.
I mean, we are under,
Yeah.
we are in their slot. It's just that they're not expecting to get to us in 2025, so.
I have a question. What's the inflation factor every year we wait? How much more on average will it cost?
The initial price tag, well, the initial estimate that we had for this package when it presented in 2022, the price tag was $249. It looks like our final cost will be $287.
After 2 years, 1 year?
No, we had approval from City Council in November of 2022.
Okay.
And our estimate at that time was $249,000. So when we receive our truck, the finished price tag will be $287,000.
Okay.
But we have no control over that, because it's not that we didn't place the order, or that we delayed the order, it's that it takes them that long to build them.
Right. You know,
I know, but pushing it another year or two
Right.
will increase the price that much more. Yeah.
Sure,
Yeah,
which
that's
is
my-
why we're not, right.
Yeah.
Yep, yep.
And, you know, International, coming out of COVID, they were way behind. Most of the manufacturers were way behind until they got the materials. They are caught up, but now Burke is behind because all the manufacturers got their products out. Now they're stacked with the upfit, so the ripple effect. Any other questions for the truck? Okay, moving on to our last item. Seeking $23,825 to purchase our own water leak detection equipment. We did receive a price quote for 2026 to have a third party come in the city and to do a partial audit, and that price quote came in at $19,980. And I guess, like I have in the sheet here, it got us to thinking, we can buy our own equipment for just a little bit more, and we can do our own leak audits with our staff. And every system has water leaks. We have probably maybe between 10 and 15% lost water here. So when we find our leaks, we're going to pay for the equipment probably within the first year or two. So, and this piece of equipment, this correlation type locator is very accurate. It now has the ability to detect leaks on all types of water main. Previously, they had a hard time detecting leaks on PVC main, but technology has come around, and the piece that we are hoping to buy can pinpoint leaks on all types of main. So I think it'll be something pretty good if we can have this equipment where we can do leak audits ourselves, and then find our leaks and repair them right away. So.
Dan, does it detect to the resident's home from the street or just under the street?
It should be able to detect on the service lines as well.
Yeah.
We need 2 points of connection, and with that, we should be able to pinpoint where the leak is.
That's fantastic.
Just a quick note on this too, in terms of, I think the question would be, well, staff is so pressed on time, how do they have time to do this? Well, they're already out on site doing, when they're looking at doing these leaks, they're already out doing maintenance work in the area. So it's not like an additional trip out. This is something they can incorporate into their existing operation plan.
Well, plus a lot of this, when we have water main breaks or service leaks, it oftentimes does not surface where the leak is. There are times where we have to drill holes in the road and to find where the leak actually is, and at times it can go up to 200 feet.
Right.
So this will also help with our water main breaks, our service leaks. But when we have gaps in the schedule where we're, if we've been exercising valves for 2 weeks, or if we've been inspecting manholes, it just offers a variety up. And we have to do leak audits. It helps. I think it's better if we can do all that work with our own crew rather than pay the money out. We are here. Their 40 hours a week are already accounted for, and honestly, if I can pack more into their 8 hours in a day, I'm gonna do that. And if I can get them more experience, that's the goal: maximize our assets, and that's all important.
I would also imagine, Dan, that theoretically, you're detecting the leak early when it's small, when the repair is small. You would, in the long run, be saving labor, right?
True.
Because you wouldn't be taken by surprise when the
Right.
problem has
Over
escalated to
time.
this massive
Yep.
problem. Yeah.
Correct. Yep. That's all I have for you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Oh,
Thanks.
yeah, I did. I had a question on the couple items that got taken out. On the leaf, the 2008 leaf vacuum collection truck, that's paid for by stormwater utility?
I believe, is half of that go to
Portion
storm?
of it was, I don't know the exact portion was.
Okay. And the other one, I just wanted you to, well, maybe you could talk a little bit about, save it. If you could just talk a little bit about the 2007 John Deere loader replacement that was removed.
What do you want to know about it, Alderwood? It's been removed 3 times now, I believe.
Okay. Do you have anything to add to the write-up?
What's maintenance been like on it? Like, how much do we spend on maintenance on that?
It's on the sheet.
It is, yeah.
Since 2006, 2000, since 2012.
think I'm not sure what the estimate was back when we first brought this forward to the Public Works Committee. I thought I had that written in here. I think it was $50,000 or $52,000 as far as the price increase since we brought it forward. Mainly, the biggest cost that we've had on it was the tires that we purchased in 2021. I think it was $10,000 for the tires.
One of the things that I was just gonna say, one of the things I also asked Dan about when we were discussing this was whether or not we've ever considered purchasing used equipment, like for instance this front, and I asked that because, as I think most of us know, if you buy a new car on the lot versus buying a car that's a year old and has a little bit of mileage on it, the price differential is pretty significant. And, you know, Dan's understandable concern was around warranty. And in fact, I found out that Brooks, so on their website, they not only have used equipment, but they have what they call Premier Used, where they warranty used equipment. That's not dissimilar to what you would do in a Premier car place. And Brooks is, I know, was your preferred provider. So, and I just mentioned it, not that it's going to save us a ton, but I mean, obviously, we were talking about the value of saving, what, $74,000 on another one of the pieces of equipment that you were requesting, and, you know, just, it seems like, given the cost of some of these larger pieces, specialized pieces of equipment, it might be worth considering, but, yeah.
Dan, you probably have already done this, but you probably compared leasing as an option too, at some point?
So leasing, we would be open to that, but the lease payments would have to come out of the operating budget.
Gotcha.
So.
Any other questions for Dan?
Nope, not now.
Okay. So, before we, any other questions around the evening? And if not, what I would like is, again, to remind, whether it's Mark or Neil, remind people process from here.
I can start, Mayor. I think the important thing is we would staff respectfully request, not a requirement. If you are considering an amendment, to please let Mark know. Number one, he can verify the numbers of whether the amendment is making sure that's correct. And also will help us keep a kind of a running tab on what the overall impact to the levy essentially would be, and have that available when we start the next meeting. We certainly have the ability to make some changes on the fly, and Mark has done that before, but this just in terms of helping ensure some accuracy and overall impact. If you can, we would staff would ask if you could let us know about that.
Sorry. We're not going to be voting on it at the next meeting.
Correct. We still have first read to go.
That's correct.
This is not first read, right? We have first read to go, so you can make it, you could work on an amendment now, or you could work on an amendment between first and second read, and Mark will give you specific deadlines between first and second read in terms of when he needs the materials by, in order to include those amendments in the packet.
And Mary, just a note on that, I don't think we have specifically determined exactly when it could be. I mean, we could do first read as soon as this next council meeting, or we could have some more time if folks would like some more time. We could certainly do it at the second meeting in October if that would be. But I'm certainly open, staff is open to either one. So.
Okay.
Mark, I don't know if you had anything else.
No, if it is if you do it the first read next week, I would, if you can get in by Thursday by noon to make sure it gets in the packet, just because, and Leah puts the packet together to make sure she has enough time to put it all out there and get it out on
You're saying that it's okay with you if people, I thought we were waiting for amendments between first and second read.
Well, you can put
Instead
some,
of
you
before.
can either way. We've done before, some people, some years they do, some years they don't.
Okay.
But if you want to for the first read, that's perfectly
I
fine.
mean, so in any case, if we would certainly recommend, as soon as you know you've got one, so I said let Mark know, because then we can run whatever analysis we need to make sure that it's the right number, they're based on the quote, or the revenue sources that attributed correctly, or whatever we need to do on that to make sure that's in. Certainly, they will all be, they will be voted on at the second read, though.
I just have a
Yeah.
general public information question. The documents that we received tonight, the documents we reviewed, the PowerPoint, the explanations of, what is a CIP and things like that, are all of those available to folks on the website, the city's website, if people are interested?
Certainly, in terms of what the agenda, it went out in that packet with that for sure.
Yeah.
Certainly, the PowerPoint we just came up with today.
Correct.
So,
Yeah.
but we can make sure that all that information
Thank
is
you.
posted and available. Absolutely.
Yeah, so there's only two things missing at this point. You didn't, the explanation of what CIP is.
That was just in the email.
That was
Yeah.
just in the email.
That'd be
and then
nice
the
to
thing-
put up.
Right,
Yeah,
right. And then, we just said we would, and then the other thing was Mark's presentation, which
Yep.
we just created today.
Perfect.
Yeah. But everything else is already on the website.
Yeah.
I forwarded it to the Herald Independent Reporter during the meeting. He
Thanks.
asked for it, so.
Okay? Any other questions? That being the case, I'll be happy to take a motion to adjourn.
I'll move to adjourn.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned. Fantastic.